obviously one of the big criticisms of this bill is that it seems like the Republicans who always say they care about deficits suddenly don't care so much if they're willing to completely unnecessarily throw a $1.5 trillion hole in the deficit. And so Grover Norquist was asked about this. Let's see what his response was.
Deficit numbers are all bogus. No one has any idea what they are until they are what they are. But it is pretty incredible that in a country where Republicans say they're so obsessed with the deficit, they're willing to pass a plan that adds $1.5 trillion to it, if it's even accurate. Thank you.
We're obsessed with growth. You're obsessed with the deficit. Growth is what
actually,
we want.
I mean, I can go through books written by people in the GOP who are obsessed with the deficit and the debt in this country. It's been like the single biggest thing, at least when Democrats were in power. Even the president's pointed out Barack Obama's debt record.
So Grover Norquist, obviously his massive, historic hypocrisy pointed out there, and yet he smiles. And why does he smile? Not because he was caught in a lie, but because he's about to get a gigantic ass tax break and he doesn't care if you call him a hypocrite.
Yeah, and a huge pay raise probably. So if you don't know Grover Norquist, he's the president of Americans for Tax Reform. They're the epicenter for donors who are looking for tax cuts. So they fund the so-called think tank, where they think really hard and decide, yeah, rich people should get a bigger tax cut. And so then their so-called papers and reports are used by congressmen to justify what their donors want in the first place. Oh, they say here at Americans for Tax Reform that, yes, well, look at that. My donors should get tax cuts, shouldn't they? And so, but the entire time, the guys like Norquist have been talking about, well, they're deficits, 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 deficits. And now, all of a sudden, what did I tell you? We told you guys before the election, we've been saying it now for close to a decade. Republicans don't care about deficits. In fact, we found an old memo where Nixon's team said, hey, remember, run up deficits when Republicans are in charge because it grows the economy. And then when Democrats get in charge, make sure that you keep complaining about the deficit so they make the mistake of not growing the economy, which will help us defeat them later in elections. So that is their strategy. Erin Burnett, I've never seen her actually do that good a follow-up question. I'm not sure I've ever seen a follow-up question. So I'm not a big fan of Erin Burnett. I remember that during Occupy Wall Street, how derisive she was. So she's nobody's progressive, not at all, okay? Even she goes, wait a minute now. I've been on here for quite some time, and all anybody ever talked about on the Republican side was deficits when the Democrats were in charge. Now you get into office and all of a sudden they don't matter at all. We're gonna add a $1.5 trillion. If Obama had done that, they'd be talking about impeachment, right? Now Norquist comes out there, deficits, who said deficits? I'll give you at least one example. The guy who wrote this tax plan is Paul Ryan. And here's what he had said before they unveiled the plan. He said, it's going to be deficit neutral. That's the budget rules we use, which is called the Byrd Rule. Later, they decided, no, it's not gonna be deficit neutral. We don't care about deficits. We were lying all along. We're gonna blow a huge hole in our deficit and add trillions to our debt. So that's the current Republican plan because they never cared. So great job by Erin Burnett there in at least calling out Grover Norquist. You just watched the video by the Young Turks, home of the revolution. If you'd like to get a lot more than that, get the full show by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.